Hi, it's Alison from the Law School Toolbox. Today, I'm really excited to have USF law professors Megan Hutchinson and Nicole Phillips here with me to talk about how they're teaching AI usage to law students. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Oh, of course, I'm super excited. Well, to start us off, can you give our listeners some information about your personal backgrounds and your work, just so they have some context here?
Sure. Megan, you were introduced first, so you can go first.
Thanks, Nicole.
Just alphabetical, I promise.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole. So my background, I studied anthropology in college, which doesn't really set you up for anything except thinking about people and how we interact and what drives us. And then I ended up staying and getting a master's in education, which is a long way of saying I became a middle school teacher who clearly my through line is that I don't settle on one thing very easily. And as a middle school teacher, I found there were all these new technologies I was being expected to incorporate into my classroom. And there are all these legal issues that were coming up. And it was easy. I was young. I just flowed with it. But the legal issues were a little trickier. Students who were being abused at home, requirements for testing, accommodations, things like that, that I just wanted to understand how to help people more. So I ended up going back to law school, and I thought I'd be an education attorney. And then I realized I didn't want to I didn't want to sue school districts or defend against lawsuits. So neither of those appealed in the education context. I wanted there to be more collaboration in that context. So I ended up in employment law. And so for nearly 20 years, I've been doing employment law. But about 10 years in, I started feeling like I missed teaching. I missed helping people beyond their legal issues. And so I started teaching law school on the side. And the result was I loved it so much. I flipped my career from practicing full-time and teaching part-time to teaching full-time and practicing part-time. So I still practice employment law, but my heart is really filled by teaching law students.
Great.
Yeah.
If people wanted to learn more about you or reach out, how would they do that?
I can be found on LinkedIn, and then I teach full-time at USF, so I'm available there. I'm available on the UCLA website where I'm a visiting professor, and then I'm also available on the Miller Creek School District website where I'm a trustee.
Great. We can link to some or all of those in the show notes. And how about you, Nicole?
So I have a little bit different path. I majored in history, which I think most people do if you're coming to law school, or at least a lot of people do. And I was either going to be a teacher or go to law school, and I clearly went to law school. I came out of law school, though, not knowing what I wanted to do, and fell into employment law, representing school districts, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah. I ended up at a wonderful firm that represented public entities, and I got the joy of representing public schools, and I loved it. Working with teachers, working with students, it was really fun. But I knew I wanted to teach. Clearly, before I came to law school, it was one or the other. So I knew I wanted to teach. I loved USF. I'm a USF alum. I had a wonderful experience there. Many of my professors inspired me to want to come back. And from the moment I graduated, I kept my foot in the door by coaching our moot court program. I coached two of our competitions there. And when an opportunity came up, a former student from that program sent the legal writing job application to me and said, you should apply. And so I did and got the job offer. And that was 4 years ago. So I just finished my 4th year. And I love it. I, like Megan, maintained my employment law practice. So I did employment law and education law. It was very minimal, but this past December, I actually moved on from litigation, and I now do employment investigations. So I'm an external employment investigator, which is really fun too, because I'm definitely more of a people person than a litigator. So I get to talk to more people than I do get to fight with them. So.
Yeah, I was a litigator, and it's funny, my colleagues at the firm and I would say, nobody ever asked us if we like to argue, because most of us don't really. Like, maybe that should be a question that someone asks you in law school before you say, oh, yes, I'm going to go into litigation. But
yeah, the depositions were fun. So now I just get to do more casual depositions.
No, that's very true. The thing I enjoyed most in my practice actually was the time I had an expert witness for a patent case that I was kind of personally responsible for, and prepping him for his depositions and all that kind of stuff that part was great.
Yeah, just getting to talk to people. It's always so fun. So
exactly.
That's my job now. Or my
Awesome.
second job.
Interesting. All right. Well, tell me about how you guys are using AI at USF. What are you doing with it?
Ooh, well, we're using it all over everywhere, but really only in the spring semester. My theory, or at least what I tell my students I introduce it in the fall, and I tell them, we will use it, but you cannot use it now.
Okay.
I want to get it out up front and make sure that they do not feel like they need to hide it from me, so they don't feel sneaky. And tell them, we're going to use it. I'm going to expect you to use it. I'm going to teach you how to use it properly, professionally, ethically. But you can't use it yet. I liken it to, you have to learn how to do math by hand before you can learn how to do it on a calculator, because you can't check it if you don't know if it's correct.
Right.
And so they seem to be pretty patient. But once we move into the spring semester, I think Megan and I are the same in that we incorporate it all over the place. Is that right, Megan?
Yeah, I think so. And so just to pick up what Nicole's talking about, so we will have students act as supervisors for the AI, right? So a specific type of thing we might have them do is take a memo they wrote in fall and translate it into a persuasive tone. So they're writing a predictive memo in the fall to their supervisor, but now you have to turn it into a brief for the court. So you might have them do that, something they're expert on, and they can see, they can evaluate the output and see if it's doing it effectively, or take a brief and turn it into an email, or take a memo and turn it into an email. So something that they have some mastery of, and then we'll teach them how to prompt engineer, how to check the output, things like that. And a critical part of it, even before we jump into those tasks, is talking about the ethics, the how you do it, when you do it, why you do it, and the why, how, and when not to do it. But then taking something that they already know, that's, at least for me, that's where I begin. Let's take something you know and see and play around with these tools, and then let's use it for things that are newer. Someone asks you to write a motion in limine, you don't know what that is because you haven't taken evidence yet. How could AI help you in getting started? So those are some of the ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then for things like moot court, there are like AI that you can speak to. So ChatGPT has a judge version, and you can practice your moot court argument with them. It will ask you questions back. So helping them learn how to use it to study, how to use it in practice, and then how to use it as a student.
Interesting. Yeah, the voice stuff is definitely kind of coming on fast. And I know a lot of people find that useful in different ways. I mean, obviously, all of this is evolving super quickly. I mean, how are you guys staying kind of up to speed on what's even happening here?
I hope we're keeping up to speed. It feels like it's a never-ending cycle. I think Megan always says it feels like we're drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
I think I am constantly attending webinars and conferences. There's one next week about legal writing and AI. I'm constantly attending just like sales pitches on, this is the newest thing, this is the newest model, this is the newest version, so that we can see what firms are using, just what is available, how they are using it, who is buying it, who is using it, where it's been incorporated. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're watching what the newest court rulings are on how you can use it, where the ABA is coming out on things, where the California judiciary is coming out on things. But it is never ending. And I think we constantly are one step behind, at least, because it's just moving so quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're also tracking the latest screw up by lawyers in court.
And I send those to my students. They think they're really fun. Like the latest, that dragon one, where the lawyer printed everything with a cartoon dragon on the paper. Oh, I don't know if he used it as kind of a watermark for his brief.
Interesting.
The court said, no, you can't do that.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, but I send things like that to my students to say, look, here are real ramifications. Keep up, because these are going to affect you. But yeah, it's never ending. It feels like.
I think another part of that is that even though the products keep changing, there are great contract drafting AI out there, and there are tons of them now, or there's deposition, things that can help you with your deposition. But I think the foundation will be the same, right? So if students know how, when, and why to use it, they'll be able to adapt to whatever tools out there. It's just like when we were all junior associates and this was the document management software you had to use, but then you switch firms and it's a different document management software. It's like, as long as you are flexible, and that's something I encourage them to remember, is you just have to be flexible. You can either be like, I think of it, I surf. So I think of like surfing analogy with tech, with like all the tech stuff in the late 90s. I was at Stanford and everyone I knew went into tech, and I'm like, I'm going to anthropology. Here's this really useless thing to study. And so I always felt like I was being the waves were crashing on me in terms of technology and understanding it and keeping up, where my friends were on the crest. And I think with AI, everyone can be on the crest, right? It's really accessible. And so even if you don't know exactly which tool your firm will be using, as long as you know how to use AI, you understand what it is, what it isn't, how to supervise it, ethically and capably, then the fast-paced changing won't shake your foundation, right? You can stay on that wave, stay on your board, and just keep riding it as it takes new turns.
And knowing what questions to ask your firm, or to ask your client, or to ask the court, to understand not only the when, where, why, how, but who are they working with, how are they working with it, and whether or not you can work with it.
Right. And I can think of questions I might ask of the tool itself too.
Yeah.
What are the data practices here? Like, what are you sharing? Who are you sharing this with? All these type of things that seem obvious, but if you don't think about them, so you don't know to think about them, you might have a really major problem on your hands. All right. Well, generally, how have you guys found the reception to this idea from students and really from other faculty members, maybe in those more substantive classes?
I think our students are pretty excited about it. I think so we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I'm constantly surprised how few students actually do use AI. I think this was the year that more students than not said that they use it. And they all told me they use it for vacation planning, meal planning. They had different study tools that they use with it, but it was very minimal for school. But there are some that are very apprehensive about it. They are very nervous about it. They don't want to try it. They would rather use it on their friend's computer. But once we start using it, they are very impressed by what you can do with it and how quickly you can get started on something. They're very judgmental once it produces something, and they always think that they can do a better job, which I love. But I think they're excited and appreciate that we are willing to go to this new place with them.
Yeah, I was going to say grateful. I totally agree with everything Nicole just said. I think they're really grateful because even if they are using it in their personal lives, the idea of using it in an academic setting, right? Law students tend to be pretty ethical people, right? They like rules. They like people who follow rules. And I think that it feels like cheating because it's not something that if they're coming straight through from undergrad, it was probably disallowed. And so I think they appreciate being told you can use it and I will actually help you understand how to use it. I think it feels like an equalizer for the students who are following the rules, that they don't kind of have that nagging feeling like, well, are other people cutting corners? And I think it also can help them recognize their own learning and feel confident, like, oh, I wrote that memo and it was really good, and AI can help me do something, but it's not necessarily better than me. And so the students express like a gratefulness. There is definitely trepidation around, which is also, we teach them which platform, like to investigate which platforms are using your data, which are training on you, which are keeping your information versus purging it. And what I always say is, like, I'm not going to judge your use, but you should judge your use. You should decide what you're comfortable with and make sure that the decisions you make are ones that you can live with. Like, are you putting client information in? That should only be on an internal, they don't have clients yet, they're first year students. But when you're at a firm, a lot of firms have their own internal ones and they do put client information into the internal AI. But you need to know which, when, why, and make sure that the choices you make are ones that you can stand by. And I think they feel empowered. I didn't have a single student who said, I wish we'd never gone down this path. So.
Right.
Yeah. And I have some students who are really excited to show me their prompts.
Yes.
I have one student who uses it pretty extensively and really impressively. And he will show me how he uses it and explain the step-by-step thought process and what he put in and how he then tweaked it and what he did next. And it's very cool because I can see the fundamentals he learned being incorporated in this process. Would it be faster if he did it a different way? Probably. But he's really enjoying this process of engaging in this new tool while using all of the fundamental legal writing tools that he learned in class. And so that's neat. And I think if I had approached AI in a different way, he'd probably still be using it.
Right.
But he wouldn't be using it effectively. He wouldn't be using it as efficiently as he is now. And he wouldn't be talking to me about it. And I couldn't correct him to say, hey, actually, let's do it this way, or let's double check this to make sure that you're getting the best output you can.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, Lee and I often trade stuff back and forth, or like now with Anthropic, with Claude, and like share things.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're like, does that seem right to you? Or like, oh, this was really useful. Like, I'm like, oh, can you just share that with me so I don't have to run the whole thing again? So yeah, that collaboration is sort of an interesting point.
It is an interesting.
Yeah.
You had also asked about how our colleagues are using it, and that is a mixed bag. I think some professors, and this is how and Nicole mentioned, first semester we're sort of introducing it just to say, don't worry about it, we'll get there, but please learn this. And I think our doctrinal colleagues, not across the board, but for the majority, feel like students need to learn, and you learn by going through the process. And if you're using AI, you're cutting corners. And so I think there's a hesitation, there's a concern that it will replace learning. It will be just checking a box that students will write something with AI, that professors will then grade with AI, and then no one learns anything. And what's the point? Why are we here? But I think there's a warming to it, a recognition. Nicole and I have presented at faculty meetings about it. I think there's some warming to it in how can you help your students use it in a way that makes them more knowledgeable and more confident in, more successful in your class versus they're just kind of dialing it in. And so I think there's a warming.
Yeah, and this summer we're kind of doing a book club type thing with some of the faculty members who are willing to engage with us and with it in their class. Some of them make more sense than others, like the privacy professors. It's being incorporated into evidence. It's being incorporated into our professional responsibility courses. We're looking for ways to incorporate it into our clinics by actually getting an internal AI program or application so that our students can actually use it safely and ethically. And so we're trying to pull people in, and there is an interest, but it is a little bit of a push-pull. But our administration is super supportive. The Center for Law and Social Good is super supportive. And I know that we are very proud to be one of the schools that's leading the way on this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're certainly in the right place for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say we also have these teaching task force events. The AI ones have been the best attended of any of the ones that we've hosted. And the teaching task force it's professional development across the board on all types of issues like grading, rubric, supporting upper level student writing. And the one that people get most animated about, most excited about are the ones that we've done on AI. So I think even our colleagues who are a little hesitant they're open, right? They want to know how they want to have these conversations. So I think it's a really exciting space.
Yeah. And sorry, but to keep going on, but we present, or at least I presented last year on how can you use AI to make your teaching more efficient, right? How can you use it to write hypos? How can you use it to, provide more for your students and make your prep faster and better? And that was really fun. And at least for me, it's been great because I also teach employment law. So it makes that so much easier to prep for and provide for my students these practice problems.
Yeah, I can definitely see it being helpful. I want to switch gears a little bit, but I think we've also been kind of dancing around this. So I read this article the other day about the impact AI is having already and will likely keep having on entry-level professional hiring, including in law. So one of the things Lee and I have been talking about is What is it that's unique that we do as lawyers? Like, what are we really trying? What skills and what ways of thinking are we trying to have students graduate with that cannot be replaced necessarily by just, going to Claude and being like, write me a brief on whatever? Do you guys have any thoughts around the type of skills and knowledge that you hope students take into their legal careers after working with you?
I definitely do. This question is so exciting to me. I think we're bringing humanity back to lawyering. I think that's what's possible here. I think about being a junior associate. And when I was looking at jobs, one associate I interviewed with said, oh, this firm's great because you can get your 8 hours a day, no problem. You'll be doing document review all day, like straight 8 hours, and then you're out. And I thought, okay, that sounds tedious and horrible. And no, thank you. I don't care how much you're going to pay me. So I think this is going to bring that AI can do a lot of that type of work that when you think about like our grandparents' generation, my grandparents weren't lawyers, but when I think back on people in that generation, you as an employment attorney like Nicole, and I would have maybe had an employee file and maybe some manager's notes to look at. The cases we handle now have millions of documents. And so it's like as technology has picked up, law has shifted from being about colleagues, clients, and court to being about document review, discovery disputes, sort of the drudgery and misery that I don't think any of us will miss. So I think it's going to let us focus on our clients. It's going to give us time to think. We won't just be looking for the needle in the haystack. We'll be thinking about what do these needles mean and how do I construct an interesting argument. And I think for junior associates, for entry-level positions, they'll come in as supervisors. They won't come in sort of lost and alone. They'll come in saying, for example, I gave the motion to eliminate example because someone asked me to do that my first week and I didn't know what it was. And so I had to like go find a book and like kind of Google it and try to figure it out. And now you could say to AI, I need to write a motion to eliminate. What do I need to know to get started? And where do you suggest I begin versus having it write it? You can't have it write something when you don't really know what it's meant to be. So I see our junior associates still having jobs, our new legal minds they're smart. They're ready to think. They just don't know how to do all the legal tasks. So I think they're going to be ready to hit the ground running and to do it with some confidence that they're supervising, not an infallible underling, but someone that they can rely on. So I think it's the human side ironically, I think technology is going to let our human skills be the ones we focus on. You and Nicole were talking about like depositions and interviewing. Those are the fun things. We're still going to have to do those things. So those we'll get to spend our time, clients, colleagues, in court, I think. That's my hope.
Yeah. I think it's the human relationships, the being able to read people and be empathetic and understanding what they need, being able to think creatively, because AI can't do that. AI is not going to be able to take all of those nuances. And I think the adaptability that we're teaching our students, at least right now, right? They don't know what they're going to have available to them. And so they need to be ready for anything. And so having that skill, 'cause right now well, you need to be ready for Lexis or Westlaw. It's one of those two. But now we're saying, look, there are all of these things that you need to be ready for. And so, have the adaptability to be able to do whatever your client needs in whatever environment you're going to be in. And so I think that's really exciting. And then, like Megan said, we can't send AI to court. So for all of our litigators who are setting up juries and reading juries and doing cross-examination and all of that, AI is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, one of the most interesting experiences I had at the firm was we were at a jury trial and we'd hired this jury consultant and he was a piece of work. But it was interesting because we did kind of the mock juries where, we showed the same exact information. Everybody sat through the same thing. And then we had 3 different juries and 2 of them came out one way and 1 came out the other. And I was the one who watched the videos of that. And I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the fun part, not
that's that human part.
Yeah.
Like, how did this happen? I mean, obviously now you could have an AI summarize the transcript and tell you, but I think you'd still miss some nuances.
Right.
Well, before we wrap up, I do want to ask this question. So what downsides, if any, do you see to teaching law students about AI? Like, are there pitfalls here?
I think there are pitfalls in how it's used, but I don't think there are pitfalls in teaching it. I think, like Nicole mentioned with her student who's using it really effectively, they're going to use it. It's there. So I think not teaching it would sort of be like, it's kind of like an abstinence model. I'm not sure how effective that would be. And so to me, I think the only downside is if you don't have the student buy-in about, again, the when, why, and how to use it or not use it. I think if it's used to cut corners, and that's my big thing to my students is this is not going to help you if you use it to cut corners. You're using it to broaden your thinking, to change your thinking, to challenge your thinking, to help you get started. Use it to help you be a better lawyer. Don't use it to give you more time to go play basketball, right? Like that's not what it's for.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, I think we can't, they have to know how to use it, and we're giving them the skills to do it well versus just pretending it's not there or putting our heads in the sand and wishing. But I think if it's used incorrectly, just like we're seeing in these court filings, students could use it incorrectly and undermine their learning, which would be unfortunate. And it will show up at some point if they've cut corners.
Yeah. I think it's seeing that AI dependence as opposed to literacy, right? And we haven't seen it yet because they haven't had it throughout all of college. And I think that's the fear that we're maybe going to see in the future, is that they did have it through college, and so they might come in at a different level or with a different expectation for how they use it. But right now they haven't had it.
I had an interesting conversation on the podcast recently with Lindsay Scola, who wrote a book called like ADHD and AI or something like that. And that was one of the things she was talking about. She's even noticed with herself, who she was late diagnosed with ADHD, and sort of was like, oh, this is a miracle. And then she's like, I eventually realized, like, I still have to put, I can't just do everything with AI. Like, I still have to have some, boundaries around what makes sense so that I don't outsource my entire brain to this.
Yeah.
I use some critical thinking skills.
Yeah. Well, and this might date me a little bit, but the Jetsons, did anyone watch the Jetsons cartoon as a child?
Yeah.
Like where he would, where the dad would get fatigued pushing a button all day. Like he would come home tired from work, where like, or the mom wouldn't want to make the meal because she had to push a button and she didn't want to. Or so I think that's the danger, right? Like Nicole was saying, is it's that, and you're mentioning with that author who was on is sort of like how joyless will our lives be if we outsource our thinking. So I think that's sort of the critical part, is the law is so exciting and always changing. And if we don't keep ourselves in the game, then what's the point? I think that would be so unfortunate. Right? Like if you're just like AI, write my brief, AI, write my deposition outline, versus what do I really want to get at? And then how might AI assist me in starting or something like that?
And I really do try to engage my students on topics that are current. Their final this year was on a grad student whose visa was denied because she protested. And so they get to engage in the world around them. And I think that helps them maintain those critical thinking skills to say, oh, I'm doing something that matters. I'm doing something that's going to help me, or at least keep me informed. And if I outsourced it to AI, I would not have that knowledge.
Right. I mean, at some point, frankly, if you just type in like, write me this, it's a pretty banal outcome. It's like nobody wants to read this schlock. Like, come on, you got to do a little better than
Hopefully
this.
they like us more than that.
I'll be honest, occasionally I've had a blog post where I'm like, just write this for me. And I'm like, why am I posting this? This is stupid.
Just check the box.
Yeah, I was like, we should probably just not even put this up if that's what we're gonna do. It's like this is just dumb. But it is tempting. I understand the temptation. Well, before we wrap up, so if I'm a law student now and my school is not offering me material like this, do you have any suggestions about how I might sort of responsibly start learning about using AI in the legal world?
Yeah. So there are a lot of blogs about AI and legal writing. There is a great professor up in Seattle who's writing on this. I'm blanking. I think it's David Weiss. I'm blanking on his name though. But there are a lot of people writing on this. There are a lot of people using it. So I would start reading, and I would also just start using it for small things, and getting comfortable figuring out how to use it. And then master basic legal research and writing skills as a foundation before you move on to experimenting on AI.
Yeah, and I would add there are free courses. I think Clio, and I don't know if Coursera has any free ones, but Clio has some free ones, and then Stanford has Codex that has there's free webinars, seminars. I think Engage. I think those can offer students, just like we're saying, like we teach students like the steps to doing it right and effectively. I think there are some online types of things like that available, but I would encourage students think about what you want, why are you here, and then what would you like to do differently or better, and then see how AI can assist. And a really important thing to remember is you can always ask AI to help you figure out how to prompt AI. So if you don't know where to begin, you could say, I want you to do this task for me, but I don't know how to ask. How should I ask you? And it will actually assist in that way. Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, any of the sort of general chatbots will do that.
Or you can prompt it and then have it make it better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just being fearless about getting started, but keeping your values and your goals in mind as you're doing it.
Yeah, I think once people sort of experience it, they're like, oh, wow, okay, this is interesting. Like I made Lee use it, I don't know, some time ago, and she was just like, I don't know about this. I'm like, just give it a shot. Like, ask it. And she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Unfortunately, we're about out of time here. Any final thoughts you would like to share?
I think it's just very exciting. And as long as you're making sure that you're using it ethically, and as Megan said, you're comfortable with how you're using it, because there are environmental factors here. It's a very exciting time to be teaching law, learning law, and becoming a lawyer.
Yeah, and I would just say be curious and be bold and give it a shot.
Sounds like a good note to end on. And remind us again how people can find out more about you and reach out if they'd like to do that.
I'm on LinkedIn, or you can find me on the USF website. I think my email is on there, but it's also probably linked somewhere on the podcast.
Yeah. We will link to your LinkedIn and anything else you send
me.
All
Exactly.
right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for watching, and please subscribe so you don't miss anything, and check out lawschooltoolbox.com and reach out with any questions.
Okay.